Good morning, a bright morning right here at Morning Cafe. Karibu sana. My name is Ndindi Nyoro. How hot is the coffee where you are?
Right. This is Morning Cafe. My name is Ann Odida. Thank you so much for choosing us this morning. Of course, to keep you updated even as you kickstart your day.
And this is the headline you're waking up to. Raila grows cold feet. Do you believe it? Now they decided at least 4 words today. Standard have been doing 2-word headlines, very striking headlines. But even this is going to be a shocker. Yeah. Raila grows cold feet.
Daily Nation, oops. Busy kama kawaida. Ruto man opens up on 123 million shillings spying software.
I think there you have the entire story. On the People Daily, more Raila men are set for Ruto cabinet, and we have some of the faces there on the front page. We'll be back. Take a look at that.
Bonde la damu, Taifa Leo. 3 words.
Yes. Wetangula MPs accuse CS of fighting Barasa. Sasa hii ni CS gani? That's the Star.
And Business Daily, CBK's 7.5 billion shillings license fees signal costly bank loans.
All right. So coming up at 6:30, State of the Nation, and look at the big headlines. Senator Joe Nyoto of Murang'a, Geoffrey Ruku MP Mbeere North, David Kiplagat MP Soi, and Eddie Gisheru Okech, Senator Migori County. These are the gentlemen that will be in studio to discuss the headlines. Let's cross over and take a look at what's big in our neighboring countries, and we start off in Kampala, Uganda. This is the Daily Monitor. This morning they're talking about Museveni and Bobi Wine facing off in Kawempe. Final push. Leaders of the country's top 2 political parties spent most of yesterday in Kawempe, North Kampala, in a bid to woo voters to their camps ahead of tomorrow's by-election, which observers think is a litmus test for the party's popularity ahead of the general elections coming up early next year. Kumbuke, elections next year.
Yeah. The last time this happened, it was so messy between Bobi and Museveni.
Kulikuwa na askari walikuja, nyahunyo zilitembea.
Watu walisalimiwa.
Watu ya Osielo.
Please, Fred, stop it.
That's the Daily Monitor.
New Vision still in Uganda. UPDF deploys in South Sudan, and IGAD calls emergency meeting over crisis in world's youngest state. That's what is the world's youngest state?
South Sudan.
Ooh, all right. Museveni rallies support for NRM candidate in Kawempe poll. Same story as the one we've seen in the Daily Monitor.
So I guess tomorrow we'll just be looking at results from the Kawempe by-election.
Right.
Yes.
31 billion shillings released for staff pay mergers. Of course, that is still in Uganda. And on the top strip of this newspaper, inadequate sleep, failing mental sickness in children.
That's according to a report. That's as far as Uganda news is concerned. Jirani upande huu mwingine anasema nini? Naanza na gazeti la Mwananchi. Samia aonya vigogo wanaotaka ubunge. Wamo wakuu wa mikoa, wilaya na watumishi wa umma wanaopigana vikumbo kusaka ubunge, awapa angalizo akionya watakaotoroka. Akionya watakaotoroka. Ubabe wa watendaji kwa wawekezaji moto. Masuala tu ya siasa. Anasema kuna wale wakuu wa mikoa na wengine wako na nyadhifa mbalimbali kwenye serikali na pengine wanataka kuwa wabunge kwa uchaguzi mkuu unaokuja mwezi Oktoba. Wajichunge. Habari nyingine kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili la Mwananchi, pale juu, uamuzi mgumu, viti maalum CCM, utaratibu mpya kwanza. Kwa hivyo masuala ya siasa yanapamba moto. Kupamba moto, si ndio?
Wewe ni Mluya, so you're right.
Pamba moto kule Tanzania. Habari mbili za kisiasa kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Kuna kidokezo zaidi hapa, zitakavyotumika shilingi trilioni 57.4 bajeti ya mwaka huu 2025-2026. Wanapanga budget pia wale. Still in Tanzania.
Incomes Dodoma coast leg despite economic standing. And Dodoma and Coast are among 5 regions with the lowest per capita GDP in Tanzania, according to latest National Bureau of Statistics data. This year is on page 2, and they say 1.9 million Tanzanian shillings is the contributed Zenol Economic Performance Report for September 2024, and it shows that Dodoma's provisional per capita GDP stood at that amount, 1.9 million Tanzanian shillings, by the end of September of 2024.
Yes.
Regions with the highest per capita GDPs, Dar es Salaam, Iringa, Mbeya, Kilimanjaro, and Njombe, and regions with the lowest per capita GDP, Simiyu,
Yes, Simiyu.
Kagera, Singinda, Coast, and of course Dodoma.
And it's interesting because Dar es Salaam, which initially was a seat of government, is now the commercial seat. Dodoma is a seat of government now, and it's the least in terms of production, GDP per capita.
All right, other top stories there. Proposed 2025-2026 budget beefed up to 57 trillion shillings.
Tanzanian money,
yes.
57 trillion in Kenya, tujafika kuongea mambo kama haya.
Bado. Samia government officials declare polling intentions early or else. That story is on page 3. Go find out or else what's there. Rights activists call for child-friendly education reforms, and that's the Citizen.
All right. So that's as far as the regional papers are concerned. We'll be back to take a look at the local ones in depth. For now, let's delve into matters weather forecast, and you can see in the entire region, this is Kenya, a bit of cloud cover on the northern part, the tip with Ethiopia there, and you can see a lot of cloud cover towards the western side of the country, stretching down to the coastal side, the southern part of the country. But if you look at Tanzania, they have a much bigger cloud cover. So does Uganda. You see, this is actually areas of Kampala there. So it looks like Kenya, we are a bit unlucky in as far as cloud cover is concerned today. So let's take a look at Kampala. We see, now that we're seeing there's a lot of cloud cover. You can see it's actually raining throughout. Highs of 27 degrees, but thunderstorms throughout the day. 13.2 millimeters of rainfall. So yes, Kampala, it's definitely raining today. Back home, we start with Turkana. We've seen some cloud cover there. It's 25 degrees as it feels like 27 as we speak. Partly cloudy throughout the day and warming expected over the next 3 days. It's 32 degrees, very, very cloudy day today. So huku, nothing. Let's go to the southern part of Kenya, and that's Mombasa. 27 degrees as we speak. Feels like 31. Quite a warm day today in Mombasa. Highs of 31 expected. In terms of precipitation, a bit of precipitation there, 1.2 millimeters of rainfall. So not so bad. Showers in Mombasa today, but still warm temperatures persist. In Kisumu, it's 20 degrees. It feels like 24. Still partly cloudy throughout the day. Very, very sunny day. And it's 29 degrees. That is highs that you should expect in Kisumu today. Precipitation of 9.7 millimeters, so it's likely to rain. Nairobi, city in the sun. Let's see just how much sun you have today. It is 18 degrees Celsius as we speak. It promises to be a very cloudy day, yes. Highs of 24, so it's not a very hot day in Nairobi. This is comfortable weather for the people of Nairobi. 0.8 millimeters of rainfall, so don't expect much rainfall. A bit of drizzling kidogo too, but nothing to worry about. So that's the weather situation across the country and even in the region. Let's take a look at the traffic. As at 8 minutes past 6, this is how the city is looking. Look at the major tributaries into town. We start off in the eastern side, and you can see areas around Jogoo Road. Yes, Jogoo Road, Makadara area is building up slowly, and areas around the city, Nairobi City Stadium, getting into town, Haile Selassie Avenue, Landis Road, they're also building up slowly. Kangundo Road, yes, you can see areas around Mama Lucy Hospital. Kangundo Road, as you head towards the outer ring road, it's red on both sides of the road, meaning it's busy. Guys coming to the city, others are heading the other way. The eastern bypass is looking good, but once you cross Outer Ring Road, you encounter some traffic there, mostly matatus trying to pick passengers to head towards town. Mombasa Road is looking good, all the way from Imara Daima past Next Gen Mall, Capital Center to town. It's looking green, nothing to worry about there. The other side of town, it's looking green on most tributaries towards town. Prestige Plaza pale kuna ile cross junction. Hapo kuna shida kidogo tu because of the lights, but not to worry about, and nothing to worry about because that's how it should be working. Wayaki Way 2, green all the way into town. At a Thika Road Sai, nothing to report. Kiambu Road and Thika Road, they're green all the way, and Pangani Interchange is building up slowly. So normal traffic for today, nothing to worry about.
For Thika Road, haikuangi hivyo, so makofi kwao.
Smooth traffic
Toka
this Wednesday.
All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day. continues moving forward, so don't let it pass you by. Instead of dwelling on the clock, focus on taking steady steps, even if they seem small.
All right, and the Standard today has a headline that I'm not sure the president would want to see. Raila grows cold feet. This is a very long headline. I think ule jamaa wa two-word headlines ameenda off ama ameenda leave. Atarudi tu, akuja tuambie, alikuwa anasema nani jana? Kumesema Magnificent Duo. Na ile ingine ilikuwa Reckless Duo. So the president, I'm sure this is not the kind of headline he wants to see this morning. Raila grows cold feet na amekaa hapo amekewa picha ingine anakaa like a very worried man. This way, that way. Days after signing a deal with the government, opposition leader Raila Odinga is sending mixed signals about the agreement. In response to vocal displeasure from his supporters and ODM leaders giving Ruto's Nairobi tour a wide berth, Raila appears to be backtracking. Is he? Saying they entered into the pact for the sake of the citizens and should be judged in 2027. Opinions are divided on this shift in tone, and it remains to be seen how it will be received. Remember, the president continues with his tour of the city. Senator amesema hata leo ako busy hapatikani. Babu Owino alisema I am busy elsewhere.
Wako busy.
Hata huyu wa Westlands anaitwaje? Timo Nyoni. Hata alisema maybe next week. So key dates in Ruto Raila rapprochement, they give dates for starting from last year when they started forming the broad-based government and such, and a lot of quotes from Raila Odinga and others on how they view these issues. Yesterday, Raila Odinga was in Kiambu, and he said that these things cannot be corrected when you are relaxed. You must go inside and tell them what to do, and you place people there to address the problems. So he's still trying to justify his actions. Yeah. I don't know why people are saying he's backtracking. He said, I have told Ruto that SHA has a problem. It must be corrected. The taxes being imposed on Kenyans are also high, especially the one on the houses. I think these are some of the things Kenyans want to hear. Yeah.
Anajua tu nini ya kusema.
Anajua kitu ya kusema. Anasema, who have I betrayed? I have betrayed no one. We as ODM have a stand, customs and ideals. But then you see, this is exactly what SG, Edwin Sifuna, has been saying. ODM has a way of doing its things. Hatuwezi amka tu na tukafanya vitu fwa. So Raila grows cold feet is a big story and occupies quite a huge space on the front page. On the top strip of this front page, salary shocker for workers joining SHA. Staff deployed to the Social Health Authority from the now defunct NHIF are reportedly demoralized following huge salary cuts. Wow. That's quite unfortunate for them. Stories on page 2. And sunroof politics, Ruto engages in early campaigns. Yes, he continues with his tour of Nairobi. Stories on page 5 of this paper. On the back page of this one, who will stop a Toyota from flying to 5th title in Naivasha? Yes, the Safari Rally.
It's back.
It's back this month, starting on the 20th, I think to the 23rd or 25th of this month in Naivasha. So pale nyuma kuna gari ishatoa vumbi. Dust has to be seen. Wale hawajaiona vumbi. You will see dust. But you will see dust. And that's the standard.
All right. Daily Nation, Ruto man opens up on 123 million shillings spying software. It's a dispute where Kenyan Canadian has sued senior state officials claiming 292 million shillings for backing out of deal. Now, they say Mr. Eric Ng'eno, President William Ruto's speechwriter, has claimed that tycoon Jayesh Saini's prodding triggered a fallout with Kenyan-Canadian Mary Washuka of a multi-million shilling spying software.
Mary Washuka, ndio mimi najua. Kuna mtu anaitwa Mary Washuka hapa. Kuna hii multi-million shilling deal.
Producer jamani, tugawie. Mr. Ng'eno is fighting off a compensation claim by the businesswoman. I wonder if she has seen that. Let's just read it. This story is on page 4. Tusikie wanasemaje. And Mr. Eric Ngeno, President William Ruto's speechwriter, has revealed how businessman, that is Jayesh Saini's prodding, triggered a falling out with the Kenyan Canadian, that is still Mary Washuka, over 123 million spying software. Mr. Ngeno is fighting off a compensation claim by the businesswoman, as confirmed in court papers, that he and Mr. Saini met Ms. Washuka on November 22nd, 2023, and that the trio discussed the spying software. Kama dili jaingiana.
Ijaiva. Alafu, is this Jayesh Saini the one that the former deputy president mentioned? Alisema kuna ndio wawili, two Asian gentlemen who visit State House and frequent, na wakiingia kwa mkutano na rais hawatoki huko ndani. Akasema mmoja anaitwa Adil na mwingine Jayesh. Now Jayesh Saini shows up on the front page of the Daily Nation.
Other top stories here. Lent meets Ramadan in hum of faith, love and devotion. Rironi Mau Summit project to begin in June. Road construction is expected to be completed in June of 2027. Is only some of the promises that the President made yesterday.
Did you hear about the other promise?
Yes, chapo.
Mashine ya kupika chapati milioni moja kila siku.
In his defense, ni Sakaja aliomba that machine.
I've seen so many interesting photos online. Just how that machine looks. Ninasema the road to 1 million chapatis.
We shall see. We shall be there.
Hiyo machine kama unaweza, by the way, if I told you can invent a machine that can cook 1 million chapatis. Hapa uko mbele. Deal ishaivana.
Such a point already back to 10 bob.
Hii deal imeiva literally.
No, but let's look at those people who now get a living from chapatis. Si wanarudi home.
Story imeisha.
Imeisha. Pay rise for teachers in TSC's 17 billion shillings extra budget, and the Teachers Service Commission is seeking parliamentary approval for 17 billion shillings to, among other things, implement the second phase of the 2021-2025 CBA. That story is on the back page of the Daily Nation. On the top strip of this newspaper, Raila, it is Ruto who came for me, pact aimed at solving country's problems. So on page 7. And state wants extra 32 billion shillings for covert security operations.
A very important story pale nyuma. Yeah, bogus universities and colleges. Revealed 15 bogus universities and colleges blacklisted by the Commission for University Education. And if I may look for the list, the blacklisted institutions of higher learning include Eldoret Bible College, Al Munawara College in Mombasa, Grace Life Bible College in Vihiga, Africa Theological Seminary in Kitale. Sikiza, shule yenu inaweza kuwa hapa. Alafu tunakuambia tu hujasoma. Kama yeko hapa, hiyo karatasi tupa nje. Regions Beyond Ministry Bible College in Thika. Others are Baraton College Kapsabet, the Africa Talent University Kisumu, Breakthrough Bible College Nairobi, Theophilus Theological College Kiambu, as well as Northwestern Christian University and Logos University, both in Kakamega. Kama umesikia shule yako hapo, inua mkono. Tafuta hiyo degree ama diploma.
Enda usome.
Enda uichome tu, sababu hiyo ni kaltasa isaidi.
No, I had to answer my chest. I was thinking too, the way we've been turning for the wrong reasons.
Alafu kuja hapa.
OMG.
It's a serious school, but.
Yes. That's the Daily Nation.
Right. On the People Daily, more Raila men set for Ruto cabinet, according to the power deal, and another paper says is growing cold feet. Azimio leader expected to reap big after changes that will see some ministers shown the door. Likely beneficiaries include Timothy Busire, who's already a member of parliament, Peter Munya, who was agriculture minister, Raphael Tuju was also in the cabinet. Public service CS Justin Muturi likely to be shown the door, of course. Tourism CS Rebecca Miano also probably some possible casualties. Na huyu health CS Deborah Barasa, ule rafiki ya watu ya Osielo.
She's my friend, you know.
So you're most likely, but it would be interesting to see Tuju back in the cabinet if at all it works this way. So this is a big story there on the front page. Of course, Auditor General Squeezy and Akosi kwenye front pages. Auditor General and arts rot in KPA and JKIA. JKIA ananga break. And Kenya glaring at vaccines shortage. I thought walikuwa wamesema we have enough, but now we're staring at a shortage of vaccines. Pale juu, hope for Kenyans' life expectancy improves. Nasikia quite a number of Kenyans now are getting to age of 78. years. So it means that our life expectancy has improved.
Hatukuwahi fika huko.
Ilikuwa imeshuka. Watu walikuwa hawafiki hapo. Lakini sasa a lot of people are getting to that age. I think it's in another paper. Probably you might get a chance to look at it.
All right.
All right.
Taifa Leo, bonde la damu, watu 16 wameuawa na majahili maeneo ya Baragoi na Maralal, kaunti ya Samburu katika muda usiozidi miezi miwili. Usalama je, serikali imeanza kusinzia kazini katika kisa cha jana angawa watu 6 waliuawa na majahili huku wengine 8 wakijeruhiwa vibaya katika eneo la Baragoi, Samburu. Wiki jana basi lilishambuliwa Maralal na kusababisha vifo vya watu 2 huku wengine wakijeruhiwa. Na swali ambalo gazeti hili linauliza ni kwamba je, serikali imeanza kusinzia kazini? Other top stories there. Walaani Raila kuzomewa, viongozi wa jamii ya Bagusi wakisikitika kwa tukio hilo lililofanyika Gusii Jumapili, ambapo walisema Raila must go. But they're denying it. Kuna evidence kwa karatasi. Ramadhani na Kwaresma zinapowiana, ni nadra vipindi hivi maarufu vya kidini kutokea kwa wakati mmoja. Nyakango apokonywa shilingi milioni 850 na mdhibiti wa bajeti asema huenda shughuli za ofisi yake zikakwama kwa punguzo hilo. I think that was transport money ya ofisi yake, alikuwa anasema imeisha.
Wanaambia anafinya sana, acha tumpunguzie budget, anafinya sana.
All right, on the top strip of Taifa Leo, hisabati na sayansi si lazima tena. Oh, wow. Wizara yasema masomo hayo yatakuwa lazima sekondari pevu. Hayatakuwa lazima sekondari pevu. All right. And Arsenal, do you think people will actually love this, maths and science?
Yes, because there are different pathways. There are those who will choose humanities. There are those who, of course, will go for STEM, sciences.
Oh, STEM.
So those are two. So if you choose to go for humanities, you may not necessarily encounter mathematics and sciences.
Oh, wow. What a time to be alive. Arsenal kula mkia katika UEFA leo. Gunners walitia gumoja 8 bora kwa kulima PSV, Real na Atletico kikinuka. Kurasa wa 20. Wanakutana
tena leo. Masuala ya UEFA Champions League. Arsenal na PSV watawalima tu tena. Watajua sisi ni nani. Gazeti la The Star. Wetangula MPs accuse a CS of fighting Barasa. So Wetangula MPs, not Wetangula and MPs. The speaker has his own MPs. So Wetangula MPs. The story is on page 6. Tufungue tujue ni CS mgani huyu anasema anasumbua mtu wao. Weta allied MPs claim PS's fighting held CS Deborah. A simmering row is brewing within President William Ruto's government days after his deal with ODM boss Raila Odinga amid indications that a major overhaul is in the works. MPs from National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula's Bungoma backyard yesterday accused top officials within the Kenya Kwanza administration, including a sitting cabinet secretary, of undermining health CS Deborah Barasa. Hawajasema nani. Sema, I have seen people fighting this lady. In Luya, we do not fight women. We are warning leaders to desist from fighting this lady and allow her to do her job. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Tell you.
Interesting.
That's the story. Alafu hapa ndani kuna picha moja, rais ameshika, sio chapati, ameshika ndizi. Kuna picha pale chini, Kenya Kwanza Chiefs unveil midterm results. Ni halftime. Actually, this match is actually smack in the middle of President William Ruto's first term in office. So President William Ruto addressing residents of Mathare during a development tour of the constituency in Nairobi County yesterday. That's on the front page. There's a story here, a bit worrying, on the front page of the Star. Help daughter on death row in Vietnam, pleads a family. This 37-year-old Margaret Ndu Ta bid her family farewell in July 2023. Traveled abroad in search of greener pastures, having been jobless for a while. Ndu Ta depended on casual jobs. Now she's facing death row in Vietnam. Quite a sad story there on the front page of the Star.
Business Daily's CBK's 7.5 billion shillings license fees signal costly bank loans. And the cost of loans is set to rise again as the CBK prepares to increase annual licensing fees by 22 times to 7.5 billion shillings amid possible resistance from lenders. Now, draft regulations show that the CBK wants to charge banks 1% of revenues as permit fees, as opposed to a token flat rate, citing an increasingly complex regulatory and supervisory role. This story is on page 2 of the Business Daily. There's a conflict here. Kenya loses 2 billion shillings as war closes BAT Sudan plant. And Kenya lost nearly 2 billion in tobacco exports to Sudan in the aftermath of the deadly war that led to the shutdown of the BAT plant in Khartoum. Now, the BAT plant in Sudan, which received unprocessed tobacco for the manufacture of cigarettes from Nairobi, was closed shortly after violent clashes erupted between the Sudanese army. This story is on page 2 as well of this newspaper. A story here of Nyakango, and it says Nyakango now protests budget cut to her office, and Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango, when she appeared before the Senate Finance and Budget Committee in the County Hall, Nairobi, yesterday. She said operations at her office could grind to a halt, citing 850 million shillings underfunding in the next financial year. Kimani Ichung'wah alisema those two must be tamed. They're being tamed.
All right. Anafinywa, akifinya anafinywa.
On the ticker, farms face scary bank freeze for unremitted staff pension. NSE secondary bond trading surges on premium returns, and that's the Business Daily.
All right. So let's take a look at the cartoons today, and my director will have to help me with this. Unfortunately, we do not have any cartoon here. So, kuna cartoon here, Daily Nation. Yes, that's the one on the Daily Nation. Today it focuses on the South Sudan crisis. Alafu our leaders, that's Riek Machar na Salva Kiir, looking through the window and throwing that dove. They're throwing peace out the window. We do not need this bad called peace. Wanarusha huko nje wamepiga teke. Get out. So the South Sudanese crisis given prominence on this cartoon. The other cartoon I think we have is one on People Daily.
Yes. Moses abandoned us here and went back to Egypt for a 50-50 deal with the Pharaoh. The problem is that he went with the map. Na nani huyo amekuwa quoted hapo?
Hawa ni wananchi wanangojea kuenda Canaan.
Yes.
Unaona hiyo kibao, we were heading to Canaan, but Moses akaambia ngojeni kidogo. He went back for a 50-50 deal. na akaenda na map. So
we all know who Moses is at this point.
Yes, hatutasema nani. Lakini
wewe tu.
Hii cartoon, yes, very biblical today. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, the cartoon on the Star talks about the same thing. ODM, UDA, and caricature of Raila Odinga trying to lift the president from a hole, lift him up. And that's the spotlight on the ODM. And they've played with the words ODM, MOU, UDA. Lakini hiyo O hapo katikati ndio shimo rais ako ndani anatolewa.
Interesting.
The one on the Standard rather, is about the donations to churches. So we have two frames. On one hand, a priest there says, yes, I accept the donation, but please don't let these Gen Zs know. Alafu jamaa anamwambia, but Bishop, how will God know that I've donated? Unataka Mungu ajue aje nimepea hii pesa nisiposema. Na ni 20 million.
Interesting.
The commentator hapo asema tu
This newspaper alisema what 140 million shillings can do.
What 140 million shillings can do. Wewe unaweza toa 140 na ukose kusema. Hata mimi siwezi kubali. Mungu atajuaje nimempatia hiyo pesa yote. Right. So those are the cartoons. After the break, these are the gentlemen who will be with us in studio to discuss the headlines as we've seen them. There were very interesting conversations in the National Assembly yesterday. Kuna jamaa anaitwa Ndindi Nyoro. So far Ndindi Nyoro has been praised for all the good work he has done. Jana, kila kitu iligeuka. Ukisikiza wabunge utaona ni kama Ndindi Nyoro. Kweli ni wewe kweli.
Anapigwa vita.
Anapigwa vita proper. Eddie Okech, Senator Migori will be in studio alongside David Kiplagat, MP Soi, Geoffrey Ruku, MP Mbeere North, and Joe Nyoto, Senator, Murang'a County. Do stand by for that after the break.
Later on, we'll be talking matters tech facilitated gender-based violence. With this bigger panel, of course, every Wednesday, this is quite expected, and we'll be here from 8 all the way to 10 a.m. Meanwhile, do interact with us on our social media platforms, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube. On X at TV47 News KE, my handle is at @Ann_Dida, and the hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle is at Freddy Ndimuli.
Stay with us.
is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Let me be on record, it will not be business as usual. This House will not sit back and allow members who sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee to use the position they hold in that committee to appropriate money to only their constituencies at the expense of other Kenyans. Because all these 349 members come here to represent people. They come here to seek and lobby for resources to go back to their people. That is why the people of Vihiga are crying today. It is sad that you would find in a county that was to benefit from public participation, a national polytechnic in a county that was slated to benefit for public participation, getting a meager 10 million shillings.
But Mr. Speaker, what has been happening the last 2 years in the Budget and Appropriation Committee of this House, Mr. Speaker, borders criminality. If we lay bare, Mr. Speaker, those things, as has been discussed in the retreat we had of the leadership in Naivasha and also in the House Business Committee, Mr. Speaker, those issues, those atrocities, Mr. Speaker, cannot be shied away from talking about, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, how on earth can one county have an allocation, budget allocation of 12 billion shillings and a whole region has 60 million shillings, Mr. Speaker? What kind of country are we living in?
Let me be on record, it will not be business as usual. This House will not sit back and allow members who sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee to use the position they hold in that committee to appropriate money to only their constituencies at the expense of other Kenyans. Because all these 349 members come here to represent people. They come here to seek and lobby for resources to go back to their people. That is why the people of Vihiga are crying today. It is sad that you would find...
Yes, indeed. That was a majority leader in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, speaking yesterday in the House. The story is about Ruto and Raila allies going after Ndindi Nyoro ahead of crucial committee polls which are happening this week. Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro was yesterday on the receiving end of his just concluded tenure as a Budget and Appropriations Committee chairperson. President William Ruto's allies, without providing evidence, claimed the MP used his position to implement projects in his constituency. The attacks came amid intense jostling for the chairmanship of the recently reconstituted committees. The elections will be done today and tomorrow. This morning, we're privileged to have with us in studio, for the first time on Morning Cafe, Senator Eddie Oketch of Migori. Senator, karibu sana. It is a pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Asante sana.
Yes. David Kiplagat, MP, so a familiar face on this panel, joins us this morning. Karibu sana,
thank you.
Kiplagat. Let's start from what we've just heard, what's happening in Parliament, the reconstitution on the leadership of crucial committees of the National Assembly. I know this Senate is already gone, at least they're done with that process, but now it's in the National Assembly. Very interesting sentiments coming from there. Is it true that a chair of a committee can influence budgetary allocations to his constituency? Is that how committees work, when Kiplagat?
Okay, good morning, Indumuli. Maybe I will take a different trajectory on what you have stated, what happened in Bunge yesterday. I think it is the function of Parliament provided by the Constitution to debate and pass the budget. So if there are any anomalies in that budget, it's a collective responsibility that it was passed by the House. So I might not want to go into character assassinations of the chairs. The chairs are just head of the committees, and they receive proposals from the ministry, and they look at it. Whichever inefficiencies that might have happened, I think the reconstitution of the committees is also provided by the standing orders. You know, there are departmental committees that run for around 5 years, unless they are reconstituted. Then there are committees that actually expires within a period of in the mid of the 5 years. So those are called select committees. Those select committees include the budget, include the audit committees, include the CDF. There are quite a number of committees that lapsed. So they have been reconstituted. And now what is remaining between today and tomorrow, they'll go for an elections. So and those are the order of business. I might not want us to discuss the character of any chair. So whichever inefficiencies that happen, or whichever...
So the claims by the leader of majority are inaccurate, you're saying? So, because he's claiming...
Okay,
he says there's a situation where one county receives 12 billion shillings while the entire region struggles with 60 million shillings.
You know, in Parliament, we are house of rules, and whenever we allege, we need to provide evidence. So unless I've looked at those concrete evidence, then...
But you say that's not how committees work. The chair cannot simply make an allocation by himself.
Of course, at the end of the day,
yes,
they will come with a report.
Yes.
And that report will be tabled in the House. And it is all the members collectively who will pass the budget. So for us to be able now to blame one person, I think we are stretching too much. So let us concentrate that their terms have expired. We have a new committee, and the elections will be held. Whoever will be elected, we want to, as the majority leader said, let that committee be as fair as possible. But the final verdict, in whatever the report the committee has decided, it is the collective responsibility of the House to look at that report critically, Senator, and be able to pass it.
Is it fair for the leader of majority and the minority in any House to target one person with such claims inside the House? Because as Bwana Kiplagat says, it's pure politics. There's no way a single committee chair can make an allocation to one region or the other.
Good morning once again, Fred.
Good morning, and
asante sana for having us here today. And let me also take this chance also to say thank you to our viewers. It's not routine to wake up in the morning and be in good health to tune in and watch a show or enjoy this kind of conversations in any way, or have an informative discussion. So I want to thank our viewers who are Kenyans who care about what's going on in the country, who are tuning in TV 47 today. That said, I think it's very critical to say that before we had this change of constitution, if you think about the Moi era, and all the way actually to even the start of Kibaki era, because he also struggled the same to struggle with the budget making process. It used to be that budget used to be made within cabinet, to the extent that that was very final. There was the voice of the people's representative to be able to deal with the budget making process. So that's why at some moment it used to be that if you went and knelt in State House to the president, then you would get development projects allocated to your county, to your region, at that time constituencies. And Kenyans desired a situation whereby the members who are representative members in parliament would then take control of the budgeting process, so that the idea of distribution of resources, sharing of resources could be done within parliament. And that means that whatever comes from the national treasury, unlike the era of Moi and the previous constitution, is a mere proposal. It used to be final when it came from the executive during Moi's time. In this new constitution, resources are shared and divided within parliament. So to that extent of that change, it is true that members of parliament can be able to control the budget making process and can be able to determine what resources go where. And of course, that one is not devoid of the fact that the executive can have a hand in that. But then the biggest problem that Kenyans did in that arrangement is that the budget making process, what has become to be named as money bills, was left to the National Assembly instead of the entire House of Parliament, which comprises the Senate and the National Assembly. And this is the rot that we have had, because then it has given, in general, the members of National Assembly so much power in controlling the budget, but even more specifically, members of the Budget Committee. And this manifests for us when we look at what is happening in the National Assembly. We look at it from what we call project distribution, because that's what we can be able to interact with. So for instance, if I'm looking at pending bills at the Senate, and I find that the pending bills on transport and infrastructure, what is currently happening is that they're standing at 175 billion. And that 175 billion, you've got about 39 billion of that, which is about way leaves of project-affected persons. When you find that 60% of that is in one region, then it means that it justifies what the claims of the majority leader and the minority leader in the National Assembly are saying. Because that is the only index I can be able to interact with.
Because and therefore, the budget-making process, isn't it a collective job of Parliament?
No, currently...
Can it be skewed by one individual, a chair of a committee, to actually get skewed projects to one region?
I mean, you know, it is possible, because every committee does their work, and it's not only the Budget and Appropriation Committee, but even Finance Committee and other committees tend to do their works at their own committees, so that the examination, the scrutiny, happens at committee level. So that sometimes when these things come to the House, you've seen houses struggle with what we call quorum, right? In very critical, you know, bills that are being discussed in Parliament, so that at the committee level, a lot of scrutiny happens, and unlike at the plenary level in most of these houses. Okay. So there are some things that can be put in budget that then end up skipping the House. And I'm not trying to throw any aspersions to say that the National Assembly members are not keen on the budget making process, but that is what it indicts. That's what it means. Okay. And that's why I'm proposing that. I wish that we could change the Constitution to make sure that the Senate can also be involved in the money bills and budget making process, because it's a smaller house of individuals who then can be able to look at the holistic element of the budget making process.
Okay. Allow me to welcome Senator Joe Nyoto to this panel. Senator Joe Nyoto is from Murang'a. Good morning, karibu sana. We're talking about what happened in the National Assembly yesterday. Both the leader of majority and minority came after the chair of the Budget Committee, Budget and Appropriations Committee, Ndindi Nyoro, in a thinly veiled attack, probably meant to justify the changes that are coming up. Because many Kenyans watching and listening to the leader of majority and minority get the feeling that the processes in Parliament, that individual members, because of their positions in some crucial committees, can actually ensure that there's skewed projects or allocations to certain regions. And the question is that how the system works? Or are they simply playing politics? Senator.
Thank you, Fred, and good morning to you and all the viewers. What the majority leader and the minority leader were doing yesterday in Parliament, they were playing politics. And Fred, the scheme is very clear. There's a purge against any leader, any emerging leader in the Mount Kenya region. And that is what it is. Mm-hmm. And why do I say that? I say that because Honorable DK is here, and he will tell you there are very many committees in the National Assembly and even in the Senate. For them to have just picked out one particular committee chair, Ndindi Nyoro, for ridicule and incitement to members ahead of voting of chairs, I think today or tomorrow. I'm not in the National Assembly, but I think it's today or tomorrow. They were playing politics. Fred, until I was removed as chair education, I have been a chair. And I know that a chair is just that, a chair. I mean, any report that a committee makes must be adopted by at least half of the members. And so it's not about the chair of any particular committee. I mean, just like chairs do in any other, any other particular organization, They guide the deliberations, you know, those simple things, who to speak, what time, and maybe what the members, agree on, the chair then, you know, signs. And there's a lot of work done by the secretariat. Every committee, and Eddie is a chair now, every committee has a committee clerk, a legal clerk, you know, very many people, professionals that do the biggest part of the job. So what were they were doing? Actually, they were playing politics in furtherance of President Ruto's scheme to malign and do a purge against all any emerging Mount Kenya leader. And it's now almost complete. And William Ruto, because when you saw Kimani Ichung'wah talking and Junet Mohammed, who has now, of course, they are in the bread-based government, you can call it blood-based government. When you see them talking, it's William Ruto talking. So William Ruto has concluded, in fact, Ndindi Nyoro was the only remaining person that helped him get votes in Mount Kenya. He has decided to do away with each and every person leader. And I can, if I had time, I can enumerate them that helped him get power. So there was nothing about...
I want to concentrate on this because what the majority and minority leader basically told Kenyans is that the way parliament works is a bit skewed. Listen to this. Because the MP in question, Ndindi Nyoro, has won admirers for his national NGCDF projects. And we've seen many legislators go there for benchmarking. Then the leader of minority comes and says, tell me, Mr. Speaker, what exactly is happening in Kiharu that we must all go and see. Has a messiah come back there? Is there a new economic miracle we have not heard about? Are we saying that what is happening in Kiharu is cannot be possibly done in any other constituency? That it's extraordinary?
Okay, may I clarify on something what Honorable Senator Nyotu has said? Let us remove the discussions that what happened in Bunge yesterday from the president. The president has nothing to do because if you saw where that statement came, it came from Milema, who was asking about, because when the committee goes for public participation, the selected counties usually gets, from the discussion of the public participation, they usually get some projects so that they can be able to do in furtherance of the public participation. And the freeze that had happened, I think it had affected those particular counties, and Honorable Milema was asking what is the fate of that public participation. So at that point, that discussion came in. So to allege that when you see Honorable Majority Leader and Minority Leader talk, it is the President who has sent them, I think it is casting wrong aspirations on the conduct of His Excellency the President. So let us remove the President out of that discussion. Having said that, as I said earlier, I will not want to go into the mass linking without evidence, because at the end of the day we need to substantiate, and whoever is alleging is it's paramount that they give evidence so that we can be able to see. As to what happens in Kiharu, me, I've been to Kiharu myself, and I've seen the projects that Honorable Ndindi Nyoro has been able to do. As to whether it is done by the national government, because for a project to be able to be done by the national government, it will be seen it is because the writing is on the wall, whether on the description of that project, whether it was done by NGCDF or it was done by government. So I will not want to go into the details of what
You've
happens.
been to Kiharu?
I've been to Kiharu.
The question is, because Junet Mohammed is saying that it's an economic miracle. Is it an economic miracle? Is it something out of the ordinary that cannot be replicated anywhere else in this country with the same NGCDF?
There's nothing miraculous about what is happening in Kiharu, because what is happening in Kiharu is what we are doing also in Soy, just renovating a class, putting on tiles and painting, and that is it. There are so many constituencies. If you go to Kimilili, the one for Didmas Parasa, is building stories. So, so what it is, every constituency have their own unique depending on their problems. And so to go into the detail of using of that path, I will take it. And this fact is that when it is at the departmental committees, that is where the sectorial budgets are discussed. And then they are all collected at the budget committee. The budget committee now prepares and tables the report, and also the
So it is inaccurate to allege that the chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee would actually allocate.
So on facts alone, if there is a mistake that has happened in this current budget committee, all members of the National Assembly takes responsibility, because it is at the point of the floor of the whole house. It is where the budget is looked at and the budget is passed. So let us not blame one person in particular, because what will happen is that my constituents will tell me, now DK, where were you sleeping? You know, when all these things were done, because I'm their watchdog, I'm their representative. So in terms of the discussion, let us have facts. Once we have facts, we can see whether all the money went to Kiaru, whether all the money went to one county, whether all the money. But it is the collective responsibility of the National Assembly to pass and scrutinize.
I want to give Bwana Ruku an opportunity to talk about this before we move to other issues. We're talking about what happened in the National Assembly yesterday. Karibu sana kwanza. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Bwana Ruku is MP Mbeere North, member of the National Assembly. Yesterday we saw the leader of majority and minority go after Kiharu MB, Ndindi Nyoro. And they mentioned in my name, saying that while he chaired the Budget and Appropriations Committee, he may have skewed an allocation towards his constituency. The leader of minority going as far as saying that, Mr. Speaker, what exactly is happening in Kiharu, that we must all go and see. Has the Messiah come back there? Is there a new economic miracle we have not heard about? Do you believe that that's how the committees of the House work? That a single chairperson of a committee can allocate in a skewed manner projects to his own constituency?
I think this is something which I am on record, having talked about it last year. I think last year in October, I came out very firmly that we have been doing budget and corruption, overseeing budget and corruption. And I called for the top leadership to ensure moving forward, we will not be having budget and corruption in our budget, in our national budget, because this is a fact. All of us represent communities, marginalized communities, some of us, others urban areas which are very congested, which also require serious, huge amount of resources. Others very fast areas which may require huge resources for the purposes of communication and water infrastructure, and as well as electricity infrastructure, which may be more expensive than in areas where we have less, densely populated, but within a small area. So there are all these factors which, as a representative of people and who have the responsibility of budgeting, need to put into consideration. But this has not been the case in quite a number of financial years. Not only in this Kenya Kwanza administration, but also in the previous administration. We have cases where in previous administration, budget committee has appropriated to themselves a certain amount of money.
Is that possible?
Yes, it is possible.
Isn't that an indictment of the whole House? Because the budget-making process comes down to the entire National Assembly. If one committee can make skewed allocations, definitely it's down to the House to either ratify or not.
In the Muri, the budget activities happen, most of parliament work happen at committee levels, most of work. If you, for instance, we are having issues with SHA, it means there are some work which was not done properly by health committee. Because the final draft, the final work, the final product is the one which is presented on the floor of the House by the committee in charge, whether it's Committee of Health, Budget Committee, or whichever the committee it is. And when we are working on, let's say for instance, supplementary budgets, a lot of things happen within supplementary budgets. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is true that according to PMF, Public Financial Management Act, there is always a very small room of what you can play with when the executive funds.
So are we saying that what's happening in Kiharu is not simply a direct result of the NGCDF allocation?
That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. Those are not my ones. What I'm just saying is it is possible to have budgetary corruption in the budget. Okay. And this is something which I talked about in October last year. I was firm about it. And I said it must come to an end. All areas of the Republic of Kenya, they require to be allocated enough resources.
It is a very worrying statement saying that there's budgeted corruption.
There is.
And these are members of the National Assembly who are supposed to oversee the budget-making process. When it comes from a member of the National Assembly saying that even the budget-making process we are going through right now could be or could include issues like budgeted corruption, that should be worrying to Kenyans, Senator.
Yeah, it is. And it's not just about budgeted corruption, Fred. It's also about budgeted inequality. This is what is concerning the country right now. And that is why, despite the fact that we voted for Raila Amolo Odinga from ODM side, and we came with a different philosophy that was anti the president and anti Kenya Kwanza, if there is a chance to equalize this country, then sometimes you tone down in terms of sometimes you are leftist or rightist arguments because the country is seriously unequal because of the budget-making process. I heard my brother Nyutu saying that this is just a purge on a region and particularly for particular leaders. Let's face the facts. Nyeri County, for instance, Fred, today, Nyeri County is significantly lower in terms of population than Mandera County. Because if you look at Nyeri County in the census of 2019, Nyeri had about a population as a county, had a population of about 759,000 people. So even if you extrapolate it, then the population goes to about 1 million. If you go to Mandera, which is a serious part of this country and a border county, we have got 2.3 million people.
Now, what? Because I know Mandera,
again,
they're set for repeat census.
Yes, they're set, the same census. I'm using because the only numbers I can use is Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, right? And then if you look at Mandera County and Nyeri County has got about 3,500 road networks. And in Nyeri County today, the bitumen roads are 728 kilometers. Okay? As we're speaking right now, under Kenha, and I told you that I'm looking at this because I'm in the Transport and Housing Committee. Under Kenha, Nyeri County currently has got 157 kilometers in the budget that we are talking about. Okay? That means that the rest out of that is still under Kura and Kepra. Care, I mean, okay? But if you look at somewhere like Mandera County has got a road network of about 1,884, okay? And all those roads, they are earth roads, about 1,390 is earth roads, and 494 kilometers is Maram Road. You only have about 2.5 kilometers in Mandera worth of tarmac roads. How is this equity? And even those kilometers came about between 2013 and now when devolution came about. And that's also happened to Marsabit, where you've got about 2 kilometers that happened just between devolution and now.
Is that a direct result of budget and appropriation?
It is because when you are budgeting for the entire country and we are budgeting for roads, we have got a road, like in Kenya today, we have got about 160,000 road network, and currently the bitumen standards that we have approved is about 13,000. If you follow that 13,000 of investment on bitumen road in Kenya today, and that 13,000 is unequally distributed, you have a problem, because about 15% of that is found within one region. For instance, the leading region, you'll find that Kiambu has got about 906 kilometers worth of roads. You'll find that somewhere like Nakuru, there is about 867 kilometers of road that are bitumen, are bitumen standards. What it means, therefore, is that there is just serious inequality in the budget-making process. And this is something that we must just accept and stop and make sure that other places in the country can also be able to get this kind of equalization, if you may, through the budget-making process. So this is not about an individual. And Ndindi Nyoro is a friend of mine. You know, I see him as a very serious leader in this country, and I see him as somebody who is very promising young person in terms of leadership. But the truth must be called by its name. There is a lot of inequality that has been channeled through the budget-making process, and this is something that we as a country must just stop.
Ndindi, before Senator, because I want Senator also to respond to that, the figures which my brother Senator has mentioned, that's why personally I decided that this issue of Mount Kenya is hogwash, is all nonsense, because we come from this region. You have earned the kind of figures which he has said as far as Nyeri, Murang'a, and other counties are concerned. Majority of the counties which are in west of Mount Kenya. When it comes to my community, the constituency which I represent, it has a tarmac road of about 38 to 40 kilometers, a constituency of 771 square kilometers. If you go to the Raka constituency, the same. If you go to other constituencies on that side, Bere South constituency, the same. And here we keep on saying, we are all one region. What kind of one region when we are completely marginalized from 1963 to today? So that's why I came out very firmly, and I said, we can't continue escorting other people to share a huge national cake, whereas our communities in the same region, we are left out completely.
Senator, kindly respond to those.
Thank you, Fred. And
when you say that, my friend here, Nyoto, is very annoyed.
I think it's only fair that, first of all, we need to have rules of the game. One, I have 3 colleagues here who are apologists of the bread-based government. And so we must agree that you will give me some more time. Because like now I was going to respond to what Eddie has said.
Fair enough.
And then the Ruko comes. So kindly, it's fair that you give me more time.
Okay.
Because I'm all alone against 3
Go ahead.
very intelligent people.
Agreed.
One, when you talk about the road network, and I think I like the analysis that Eddie has given. But if you are careful, you would have noted that he chose Nyeri against Mandera. I think I challenge him to, when he comes back here, to also tell us about the road network in Uasin Gishu and such counties. Tell us about Migori, where he comes from, and make a comparison with Mandera. Because what is happening with this government, bread-based government, is that, you know, they are very selective in the argument, the counties they are going to pick. So kindly let Eddie go and prepare a good analysis of Migori, where he comes from, or Kisumu, for example, because that is the region from which he comes. Uasin Gishu, where DK comes from, and where the president comes from, and he was a deputy president for 10 years. So that we do not malign a particular region. So it's good to give an analysis. I think all the counties, not just pick one county and maybe drive a narrative of isolation, because that is what is being done. Number two, Fred, I think it's I don't know what to call it, but it's funny. I mean, if Honorable Ruto, Honorable Eddie, Honorable DK, although I know DK is a very reasonable legislator. I know he comes from Uasin Gishu, but a very reasonable legislator, even listening to his arguments and that kind of thing. But I think, why not lobby for land, for roads? You know, it's funny, and I don't want to call it what I think it is, but it's funny. It's like a child whom, instead of telling the mother to add them some more tea or some more porridge, they are complaining that my brother here has a cup full of porridge. Why don't you ask for some more to be added to you? Why do you want to keep talking about others? Because if there are roads somewhere, you basically will not take them away from that. And again, Fred, I think we departed, Eddie and Ruto departed from the questions that actually you asked them. Because your question was about what happened yesterday, the direct attack against the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro by both the minority and majority leaders. That was the question. But then it was twisted to fit the regions. And I think I want to stand by my earlier reasoning.
I'll come back to you.
Please, Ruto.
I'll give you time.
You know, he even took my time. He took my time.
Agreed.
No, you are not the host. You are not the host, Honorable Ruto. Let Fred drive his program, his show. You are not there. He knows what I want to talk about.
Supposed to withdraw. Gentlemen,
you know,
Ruto, you asked a question. Let him answer the question.
There are some ones which he is supposed to
let me answer.
Okay. Go ahead and answer.
You know, when Fred, you hear everybody here talking about, reconstitution of committees and what have you, Fred, I put it to them because it is the truth. There was no reconstitution of committees. It was not because they have lapsed or anything. It was done because, and I have evidence, I can prove, it was done because they needed to do away first with all the chairs from Mount Kenya who did not vote yes for the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. And I want Eddie, who is my colleague in the Senate, to tell me any other chair that was removed in the Senate that does not come from Mount Kenya or did not vote no. Mm-hmm. Look at the people that are targeted, the chairs that are targeted in the National Assembly. We are talking about Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba, who voted no. We are talking about James Gakuya, who voted no. We are talking about Ndindi Nyoro, who decided to abstain. Let them tell us why they would want to tell us that it was not a purge against a region. Because, I mean, there cannot be a coincidence. And I had Eddie the other day say that it was because, competence. He accused me of, for example, of incompetence. What is this competence that is found in other regions? And DK is here. Let him tell me in the Rift Valley which senator that was chair was removed. One. So that, and Eddie to tell us why Mount Kenya people who voted no are the only incompetent people to lead committees. So let us call this what it is. It is a purge. It is doing away with kingmakers. Fred.
I think we've taken too much time discussing this issue. I want us to move to a different topic.
Just one. I think just to correct what Honorable Nyoro has said. It is the prerogative of the parties within Parliament through their whips to de-whip and to reconstitute committees. And it is a fact in our standing order, and the Speaker communicated clearly. Mm-hmm. The select committees, and they were mentioned, there were around 18, their time had lapsed, and it was time that they are reconstituted. In the process of reconstituting, it affects the departmental committees because one member might be moved from here to here. So it is the prerogative of the way government, the way Parliament is configured for that one to be done, either because of time lapse or because of the politics within the political parties that are in parliament, and that is their prerogative. The only thing is that if at the end of the day your party decides that they no longer like your face, then you live with it, because that is the party that you are in,
and that could be what is happening there.
So it is not something that to cry about. Okay. What I'm saying is that in this show is that the way our constitution is structured is that it moved the budget making process as a prerogative of the National Assembly, and it is the National Assembly to pass the budget. The budget, what is happening, and this jostling that is happening, is that resource, that physical space is so small. That budget is not enough for our appetite. And because, even if you cook for your children and the ugali is not enough, and the ugali is not enough, every child will want to pick a piece, and some will remain without the piece. So the problem is that this cake is not enough. This noise, this
normal jostling for resources.
This noise we are hearing is because of even if we give Jesus as the chairman of the budget, next year all of us will be complaining.
Allow us to move on.
Let us maybe to finish.
I thought it would be fair for me to defend.
I have a solution. What we need to do is that, given that human beings in the National Assembly cannot divide that cake equally, let us have a formula of how that cake is divided, so that the small that is remaining, we have a formula that is applied, that is computerized. You put it, it gives you results.
That is the job of the National Assembly. You want to respond?
Yeah, because very quickly, I want to tell Senator Joe Newton that Project Kenya is possible. It is possible to have a Kenyan who is not identified as a Kikuyu, who is not identified as a Luo, who is not identified as a Somali. And we are determined to make sure that this Kenya that is united on the basis of equality is possible. Because he's trying to reduce me into a tribal conversation that they have actually dominated right now in the media, that is a pie against a region and a pie against a community, which it is not. And the reason I'm saying that is because when I gave an example of Nyeri versus Mandera, what John Newton is comfortable about is me going back to my Nyanza cocoon to be able to use Nyanza as an example. But be it as it may, if he wants me to go with him to those numbers, I've told you that in Nyeri, today the bitumen standards that have been budgeted for are 728 kilometers of road. He has asked me about Migori. Go and check the budget, 2022-2023 and 2023-2024. The total allocation of the money that was allocated to Migori County for all the Kura roads and then the entire network that was coming out of the same is 84 kilometers. I can take you even to electricity levels. The national average for electricity penetration currently under all the programs of government is about 76%. Okay. Nyeri has got a penetration of 72%. That's close to the national average. If you go to West Pokot and Mandera, it is 2.5% access to electricity. If you go to Turkana, it is 2%. If you come to Migori, it is 5.6%. If you go to Siaya, it is 18%. So there's nothing new to is telling us about a community being targeted. There are people from the Mount Kenya region who also believe in Project Kenya, and they cannot continue using the tribal card that one community is being targeted, and then they exclude them from the conversation of national equality.
I think your point
the truth is the budget-making process has been a process of inequality and making other places lag behind. And we must correct it as leaders, and we must face it for what it is.
It is a function of the National Assembly. Yes? The legislators are here. It is your job.
All of our job, including himself, and we must work at it and make Kenya equal.
All right.
So that everybody can be able to enjoy the national resources.
Thank you for that, and I want us now to move away from what's happening in the National Assembly. Yes, the elections and reconstitution of committees continues today and tomorrow, and the results will be seen. I want us to take a look at the front page of the Standard. Raila grows cold feet. This is less than a week after signing the MOU. This is because he said something yesterday, and it's part of what we've covered here at TV47. Let's take a look at the story on Raila Odinga saying that Ruto came to him.
Barely a week after President William Ruto and his political nemesis Raila Odinga signed a working formula deal to execute Kenya Kwanza government's development plan, the ODM Supremo has folded his sleeves against the government putting it on toes. Speaking during a funeral service in Kiambu County Tuesday, Odinga said it was President William Ruto who approached him to assist in making effective decisions on his quest to deliver for the people of Kenya.
Watu wengi wanapiga kelele hapa na pale, oh, Raila ameenda kwa Ruto, ametuacha. Mimi sijaenda kwa Ruto. Ruto amekuja kwangu. Mimi nimesema mimi nibaki, msimamo yangu haijabadilika. Kitu muhimu zaidi mpaka zaliwe mpaka sasa mimi nakuwa napigania haki ya Wakenya yote.
Raila, who is facing a backlash over the deal after his supporters in Kisii heckled him on Sunday, said he could not sit and watch as Kenyans struggle, citing his 10-point MOU with Ruto over Kenyans' grievances.
Mwaka ile ingine sisi tulitoka yote tulikuwa kwa barabara. Tukupigania Wakenya kusema gharama ya maisha imepanda. Tukasema fungulieni sava. Tukasema mambo ya ufisadi imezidi.
Odinga nevertheless told the government to fix the Social Health Authority SHA, highlighting how taxation for the affordable housing program was too high for Kenyans to bear.
Lakini kutoka hapa mpaka pale hatutaki wananchi wetu wazidi kuumia. Mambo matibabu iko na shida. Hii mambo ya SHA haifanyi kazi.
During the meeting, ODM party leader also dismissed claims by Wiper party leader Kalonzo Musyoka that he betrayed Kenyans when he signed a memorandum of understanding with Ruto. Odinga emphasized that his recent deal with the head of state was for the benefit of all Kenyans and was evidence of the hard-fought democracy.
Lakini sisi tumesema maneno ambayo ziko swala nyeti zimebaki pale pale mpaka litatuliwe. Lakini haviwezi kutatuliwa kama watu hawajakuja pamoja kuongea.
Among the key agreements reached are the full implementation of the National Dialogue Committee NADCO report, addressing youth unemployment, and the implementation of the 2/3 gender rule. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
It is those words that the Standard has chosen to go with, and the headline reads, Raila grows cold feet. Definitely, it has not been a comfortable 3, 4, 5 days after the signing of that MOU, Bwana Ruku. It would appear that there's a bit of discomfort in selling this agreement to the public. Raila Odinga appears to be blowing hot and cold. He's clear about what his intention is, but he's also not saying, I'm with the Ruto. Going forward clearly. Do you agree that probably for the two gentlemen selling this MOU to the rest of the public is going to be a bit difficult?
I think there's no contradiction whatsoever with what Raila Odinga is saying and what he said at KICC on Friday. Was it on Friday or Thursday?
Friday.
On Friday, as well as what President William Ruto said. They said this is not a coalition agreement. It is not a coalition agreement. That was very clear. It was coming together to agree on the issues which are facing Kenyans and which need to be tackled on the table. Instead of Kenyans going to the street, instead of confrontation, that Raila Odinga, who is a statesman, can sit down with President William Ruto and come up with some solutions of key problems which are facing Kenyans. Remember, Raila Odinga has put Kenya's interests first for many times in the Republic of Kenya before his own interests. And to come up with those kind of 10 points where they agreed that these are contentious issues which this administration need to focus on and try to offer solution, try to give a manpower or human resource or experts who can come in government and work in tandem with other also experts in the same in government coming from the side of President William Ruto to solve very contentious issues Remember, one of the issues which need to be implemented and implemented quickly is the Nadico report. And we're going to do so following the 9 bills which are already on the floor of the House. So that, because Kenya is not a static democracy, it's an evolving democracy. The democratic space of 1992 is not the same, or the democratic ideals of 1992, 1987 are not the same as the democratic ideals of 2025. We need to keep on growing our democracy,
the question is
our institutions.
Because you look at Raila Odinga and he appears uneasy or a bit irked by the kind of reaction he has received. He has never, previously, even when he has engaged in such kind of alliances or mergers, he has never received the kind of backlash probably he got this time around, especially in Kisii. Let's go to Senator.
I think you should have allowed me to finish my point.
To answer that?
You should have allowed me to
I know you're going
prosecute,
to enumerate other things.
To prosecute my case.
Because of time.
Let me prosecute my case.
We may not be able to have...
Let me prosecute my case, and then in another 2 minutes.
Probably, yeah, just 2 minutes, then we move on to the real discussion.
Raila Odinga is not coming to support William Ruto. Raila Odinga is coming to support Kenyans. Kenya first. Raila Odinga is not coming to serve his own interest as Raila Odinga or ODM interest. No, he's coming to government to support Kenyans' interest. The issues that are affecting Kenyans, that is what is pulling Raila Odinga out of his own house, ODM house, to focus on the issues that are affecting Kenyans. And William Ruto has told him that there is space for you to do that. So don't go to the street. Don't go to rallies and shout saying that this and this is not being done. Come, let's do it together. Kenyans first. Not the interests of Raila Odinga or William Ruto.
Senator, Raila Odinga appears a bit uncomfortable. He's not sitting pretty after the signing of the MOU, given the kind of backlash. He has found it fit to now respond to people.
You know, if there are institutions that I respect in this country, given my background, given my training, is the media. I really respect media. But I think that the last 1 year, what we have seen in media in this country is a lot of lack of impartiality, a lot of lack of fairness, a lot of lack of what I call public accountability. It is only the media that can come with some title or can show one side of the coin and not the other and get away with it, because that is how our media has been structured, with the space that the same Raila Amolo Odinga fought for the freedom of media and freedom of expression. And I've looked at Standard a number of times, my brother, and I'll never try to disparage a media house or whichever way. Standard 3 days ago, I think, no, actually last week, had the title that indicated that yes men have been rewarded. Just because you are in one coalition, you are called yes men, and the people who are in another coalition who are also following the other coalition are not yes to that ideological theme. Why am I saying this? I was in Kisii, for instance. I was in that stadium. There was one corner of young people who had been given some small money by some politicians to make a lot of noise, and the stadium had thousands of people. Media chooses to take one clip from one stadium and not capturing what's happening in the entire stadium, and then spins it to make sure that they can be able to criminalize an idea whose time has come, which is the idea of equality. I want to ask you, my brother Fred, what is wrong with Raila Amolo Odinga and Ruto coming together to solve one principle of debt crisis in this country?
What we are discussing,
what is
Senator,
wrong
is Raila Odinga responding to that kind of criticism.
Yes.
He's found it necessary to respond to that, meaning it is there.
Yes. No, but it is criticism that is there, that is fair, but not the way the media has chosen to put it. Raila has not developed any cold feet against the principles and the cooperation agreement that they came up with Ruto on. And these are the issues that they came up with, the 10-point agenda. Number one is the idea that devolution is being starved of cash to be able to deal with basic needs that are devolved under Schedule 4. What is wrong with Raila Amolo Odinga and Ruto coming together and giving counties 450 billion that has never been seen in these counties? What is wrong with us, Kenyans, dead or alive, agreeing that the debt crisis in this country is so crazy agency that the central bank, the COB, the audit function, which is the AG's office, the treasury, all of them have got no similar figure when it comes to the national debt. And they have come with an idea that they want to audit national debt. What is wrong with all the issues that Gen Zs used to cry about on bills of rights that have not been safeguarded, including the idea of making sure that all the plights of Gen Zs, for the first time, have been assented on by the president and made a commitment that they must solve this together with Raila Amolo Odinga. What is wrong with everything that is in that 10-point agenda that I cannot go one by one through? The idea is, as media house, we must know that public accountability also includes nation building and nationhood, so that it is possible that the media can be able to enumerate what is it that the substance of this engagement looks like.
Looking at the 10 points in the MOU, most of them are issues provided for by the Constitution. Stopping wastage of public resources, audit of national debt. These ones do not require an MOU between any parties to agree on.
Very quickly.
Protecting sovereignty of the people, protecting and strengthening devolution. These are provided for by the Constitution.
Very quickly on that, just 1 minute on that, because I was concluding with that. Fred, what is happening is the lack of goodwill of human resource and leadership of individuals who are in government who are obsessed with things like regionalism and tribalism that you see my friend Ruto is crying about. And that this is what brings about incompetence in governance that President Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga are seeking to solve in a cooperative agreement that is inclusive and brings all the leaders of this country together to talk about.
Yes, Kiplagat.
Okay, thank you. I think for the coalition between, for the working relationship between the Kenya Kwanza government and a faction of Azimio, that is ODM, I'll put it a bit clearly, not in many English, but in something that Kenyans can be able to understand. One thing is that every political party is formed to win power and to govern. And for you to be able to govern, you need to make sure that at least you have the majority. You have the majority of Kenyans supporting your agenda, and it is our work as a Kenya Kwanza that we bring everybody on board. And you will agree that Raila has a constituency, and that constituency is huge. And for us to be able to execute our agenda, you know, in Kenya also, you need to be able to execute your agenda peacefully. The two party leaders have agreed to first have a framework on how they can be able to, to work together. To work together in terms of coming together to form the executive, coming together to stabilize parliament, coming together to stabilize the mind of Kenyans. And if that working relationship can be able to go beyond 2027, well and good. The other sections of the opposition will also work on their own configuration to see whether they can be able to seize power democratically. Mm-hmm. So all these frameworks and building of the relationship and bringing everybody on board, it is the work of every politician, of every party leader to ensure that.
Do you agree that the two leaders are facing an uphill task, trying to convince other Kenyans that this is the way to go?
What you always do is that we have an agenda to deliver. This country came from very far. It is not the creation of the Kenya Kwanza that we have so many problems in Kenya. These problems could have been more worse, but as a doctor, when you are administering medicine, the medicine can be painful. So if you can be given, before you are given surgery, you are given some medicine to make you relax so
anesthesia.
that you can, so that you can be able to be, because medicine has to be administered.
So this is anesthesia, to pacify the masses.
Medicine has to be administered for you to be able to bring this country where it is. And I can assure you, the president is forthright on that. And he needs a partner. And he has found a partner in the name of Raila Amolo Odinga, who has a religious following in Kenya. You cannot dispute that.
But the president is also struggling.
There's nothing that is about struggling. Don't worry. So long as, may I tell you, everybody, you work on your numbers. Our brothers, they are working on their numbers. as we are working on our numbers.
The idea of an MOU is well and good, and we've covered that.
May I finish?
Is the struggle the two leaders are having
May I finish?
trying to sell this idea to the rest of Kenyans?
You see, where Raila went to Kisii. Kisii, from what I'm reading, they might also be finding their configuration somewhere, or a candidate or something like that. In Kiambu, you will expect you will expect generally the Murima politics, you know. So, and the Raila in Kiambu and the Raila in Kisii will be different from the Raila in Kibera or the Raila in Kondele in Kisumu.
Let's bring in Senator into this conversation.
May I finish? So let us
because
agree.
Of time,
no, let us agree.
Yeah.
Let us agree. As Kenya Kwanza, we have an agenda to deliver, and we need a partner. And we have found a very good partner in the name of Raila Amolo Odinga, who is also bringing his troops on board, and we are able to cover. If that coalition can be able to make us win power in 2027, well and good. That is what we need.
And maybe
even
that's,
the other
maybe
partners, they also want.
Maybe that's the main deal. This 10-point agenda does not. Because I'm trying to see
at the end of the
what
day,
the highlight is for the president and Raila Odinga to sell to Kenyans on this 10-point agenda. Are you convinced that the 10-point memorandum is enough to convince Kenyans to buy into the deal?
Fred, and I just want to alert you that when I made my submission, you went to Honorable DK, then to Senator Eddie, and then you went to Honorable Ruto. I thought I would come after Honorable Ruto, but I'm a very well-mannered debater. So you went back to Eddie and then to DK. And so when I take some time, please let them not complain, because they have they have had 2 sessions each. Fred, allow me to first respond to Senator Eddie, even before I come to the question of whether Raila has grown cold feet or not. You know, we must desist. This idea of every Mount Kenya leader, when every Mount Kenya leader talks or says anything, they are called tribalists, must end. When
discourse where we are not having regional
responding to
I'm responding to what Eddie has said.
Responding to Senator.
What makes Ruto so uncomfortable?
Why always we must go?
But I mean,
did you by saying that
is
he's responding to Senator?
Is it true that Eddie said that I took him to a tribal cocoon in my submission? Is it true that he's in conclusion he has said that some of us are tribalists and actually even mentioned my name? What acts Honorable Ruto when I talk about that? So we will not allow ourselves to be intimidated that we'll never talk or say anything in this country, because every time we speak, then we are tribalists. Anybody else is not a tribalist when they speak. So we must, remember this came, Fred, remember this came when I said Eddie should have compared Migori to Mandera. And then, just a minute, and then, did you hear me speak when they talked?
No, but
did you hear me?
Mandera is
why don't we have a mature debate?
And I don't want us to spend too much time. I don't want us to spend too much time on that.
Even mentioned my name, I never stopped
when
him.
his leader was a
What is
deputy
this?
president,
Is this then?
he was tribalist.
Is this a debate?
Kindly.
Why are you arguing?
Let's
That's not a
move on to
tribal
the discussion.
If when he even mentions my name, he mentions it. I did not respond when he was talking. What is this? Are we having a mature debate? Or it's a marketplace that we came to? I mean, why doesn't somebody wait until I finish my submission, just like I'm waiting, and then respond?
Go ahead.
We cannot have a debate like we are school children.
You don't.
Fred.
Okay.
So
Senator, let's not spend too much time on
so that. It's annoying when you are making a submission. Then people you give all the time to say mention your name.
Gentlemen, let's be
Don't
courteous
respond.
enough.
We cannot have such a debate. So anyway, forget about that. As to whether Raila Odinga has grown cold feet or not, let me first say that the side to which I belong has no problem with Raila Amolo Odinga entering into any agreement with William Samoei Ruto. Why? Because we did not vote for Raila Amolo Odinga as Mount Kenya people. Most of us did not vote for him. The major vote went with William Samoei Ruto. So we have no, Raila Amolo Odinga owes us nothing. We have no problem with him. Whatever he wants to do, he can do. But we have a very big problem with William Samoei Ruto, whom we voted for and who has betrayed us. It is important that I put that very clear so that Eddie doesn't, or anybody else doesn't think that we will, avoid, or we will lose our focus on the person who owes us. And Eddie, when we sit here and all of us are escapists, we are escaping from the reality. Raila, the Gusii people, youths and other people attending that football match in Gusii Stadium on Sunday walked out on Raila Amolo Odinga. And what were they saying? Ruto must go. What does that tell you? That Gusii, the Agusii have no problem. And the Agusii have no problem. I listened to you when you said what you said. I'm responding to that.
Were you there?
It means the Agusii have no problem, or hitherto had no problem with the Raila Amolo Odinga, but they have a problem now that he has entered into a pact.
No, they have Matiang'i vying. That's
Fred,
the problem.
please control this debate.
Senator, I'll come to
People should talk when it is their time.
No, but
people should not interrupt. He wants to interrupt my line of thinking so that I do not tell Kenyans the truth.
Senator, let's be courteous enough.
So the question is, has Raila grown cold feet? And that's what I'm answering. So Eddie here has said that it was a group of young people in Gusii Stadium who had been paid some money, and it's recorded. This program is recorded. Yes. Unless Eddie is the one who paid those youths, he should tell us who paid them, where they were paid, how much they were given, the instructions they were given. Because you cannot just come here and allege that anybody who walks out on any leader was paid little money by somebody without saying who paid, where it was paid, what instructions were given. Let us not be escapist, Fred. So, when Raila saw what happened in Kisii on Sunday, you know that President William Ruto is having rallies in Nairobi since Monday. Raila has been missing from the rallies in Nairobi. And that is not something Eddie may want to ask me, why are you there? That's what he is asking me. We get information from what is reported to us. You cannot be everywhere in the country, but we know what happens in the country through reporting. So Raila Odinga conveniently, because Raila Odinga is a seasoned politician, he's a smart politician, he has listened to the ground the way Rigathi Gachagua tells people to do. And Raila Odinga has been copying Rigathi Gachagua lately, including, collecting views before he entered into this pact. And so he has listened to the ground. So I submit that Raila Odinga has grown cold feet. Because, let me finish, please. And he said that this pact, what is wrong? And he almost sang a poem here. What is wrong with Raila Amolo Odinga joining William Ruto so that they speak for counties to get 450 billion? Eddie, really?
All right.
We are the people who do the allocation to counties in the Senate. You do not have to enter into an agreement with William Ruto.
The conversation is about the difficulty these two leaders are facing in selling this agenda. Bonaruku, it is definitely a fact that even as President William Ruto continues with his tour of Nairobi, the senator of Nairobi, who was present during the signing of the MOU, plus two members of parliament of Nairobi, Babu Owino of Embakasi East and Tim Wanyonyi of Westlands, have stayed away from the president. That says a lot, given that it comes only days after their party signed an MOU with the president.
These are readers who have personal vendetta against William Ruto, and also readers who forget very easily that without Raila Odinga, they will not be holding those positions. Senator Sifuna will not be senator of Nairobi if were it not for Raila Odinga. The same case to Babu Owino, and that's why he cannot dare mention Raila Odinga in a bad light. So if you can't be able to mature, to grow, out of your personal vendetta because you hate this other person for your own reason, probably it doesn't talk nicely in terms of good English, probably, or all this manner of thing. So I didn't expect Senator Sifuna to be anywhere in those meetings because he's on record again and again saying how he can't work with President William Ruto, how he can't vote for President William Ruto. He has said it again and again. And also Babu Owino, you want to be governor of this city. And for sure, when Sakaja is there leading the troop of Nairobi County, don't expect Babu Owino to be the same convoy with Sakaja, and they are competing. And of course, in such a situation, Sakaja has a very good working rapport with both Raila Odinga and President William Ruto. Remember, Sakaja has attended Raila Odinga's several functions and even supported him in a serious way when he was running for African Union chairmanship. So Babu Owino, I don't expect to see him also in that convoy because of his own political gymnastics, which may not be come out well when Sakaja is part of the convoy. Therefore, there's nothing much to read as far as these guys are concerned.
When the SG of ODM, one of the parties in this MOU, stays away from the other principal in a region where he represents, he's a senator for Nairobi. Should Raila Odinga rein in
no, I think
rank and file and ensure they actually toe the line?
Let me just inform you, my brother, that I got invitation to go to the launch of the Nairobi River project that was happening because it's under my docket as a member of parliament and actually as the chair of transport, roads and housing. But I chose not to go.
So you also stayed away?
I'm going to tell you why. Because despite the fact that we are supporting the cooperation agreement between President Ruto and Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, we are all members of parliament who swore to actually do our duty of oversighting the executive. And that is a role that is not, there's nothing like opposition nowadays. There is something called majority and minority. All of us as a House of Parliament have got a fiduciary and moral and constitutional responsibility to be able to oversight the executive. So that when you are seen in some of these programs of the executive, unless it affects you directly in a place like where a member of parliament must go because that is their constituency and launching,
a senator,
it is wrong to think that it is mandatory for all members of parliament to be in all executive...
It may not be mandatory, but definitely communicate something. When the senator of Nairobi is away from such a visit by the president, days after signing an MOU with his party.
No, but this is what I'm telling you. The senator of Nairobi yesterday, okay, is a member of PAC, and there were a number of governors appearing before PAC. So ask yourself, should the senator of Nairobi go to a rally or should he do his work in parliament? Put these things in context. It's not like the senator of Nairobi yesterday was somewhere in Mombasa or Arusha, taking some wine and hanging out. He was in parliament doing his work in parliament. And you must allow me to say this, my brother Fred, that my brother John Nyutu, as leaders, let's stand for something. Let's stand for Project Kenya today, because the reason why Rigathi Gachagua was impeached is because of what you're asking now. Just 1 minute. Just allow me 1 minute. I just beg for 1 minute. Okay. The reason why he was impeached, one of the reasons that we went through was because of the issue of oath of office. Defying that oath of office. Because when the deputy president swears his oath of office, he says that I solemnly affirm that I will always truly and diligently serve the people and the Republic of Kenya in the office of the deputy president. When Honorable Rigathi Gachagua was given that duty as deputy president, what did he do? He turned against the oath of office and started serving Mount Kenya. He started talking that he's a regional leader, he's looking for shares from Mount Kenya, and not serving. No, but because he said it, and what I was questioning my brother Nyutu is this, it's a very simple thing. My brother Nyutu was a very good legislator when he came to parliament. Do not just share ideas because you are trying to protect your vote and get re-elected. Even if you don't get re-elected because you stand up for something, it's better than saying that President Ruto betrayed Mount Kenya when it is actually Rigathi who actually betrayed all Kenyans when he was given the duty to serve all Kenyans.
Let's focus on the discussion that we had. We have 10 minutes exactly, and I'll share it equally, 2.5 minutes each for your final remarks. Sure. Start with you, Bwana Kiplagat.
Maybe what I want to say is that as a country, we have a country to make sure that at least we prosper both in terms of economically, in terms of unity, in terms of peace, and in terms of making sure that at least we put food on the table of Kenyans. So we have limited time. So let us reduce political bickering. Let us go on the agenda. This year and half of next year is very critical in terms of actually making sure at least our agenda as Kenya Kwanza is realized. So I hope that now that we have everyone on board, we have unity within the political space, we can be able to use this time so that we can be able to implement our Kenya Kwanza agenda. Now, in terms of who should attend, who should not attend a presidential function, I think those are not here or there because usually you are invited, and when you are invited, you also look at your schedule and you balance those schedules between the attendance and these.
So the Senate of Nairobi must have been
so
invited.
we cannot also try to figure out and to imagine so many things as to what happened to the Senator of Nairobi. You know, he was the only person who was supposed to be in that function. If it is launching of a school, it was the president and also the principal of the school. The other people, the other people are within their times. They
even the Nairobi River Regeneration Project, which is a county project.
There is the commission, there is the
Senator
governor.
Who doubles up as SG of ODM.
You know, you would tell us if the governor was not there, then it raises eyebrows as to whether he's supporting the Nini. But I think Sifuna did his work in KICC. He signed, you are able to take the photos, and he has shown that this is a framework agreement. They have agreed, and he has appended his signature. What else do you need from Sifuna? So let us also not try to build, and everybody, even I dare talk on Babu Owino. Babu Owino, he balances his politics. Wherever he sees that it will serve him right, it is his constitutional right to make that decision. So let us not also become prefects as to who is supposed to be where at any given time. And we are all human beings. Okay. Some can fall sick. Some can you have a sick person. You want to rush to hospital. You have other engagements. So let us not also uplift some of this mediocre politics into national limelight.
Senator Nyoro, you go next.
Oh, thank you. And one thing as I conclude that I may want to ask of my colleagues and anybody that appears here is that we should be facing issues head on and not be escapist. When you listen to my colleague, Senator Eddie, saying that Sifuna missed the rallies in his own county because he had some committee work that he was doing. Eddie is just, lying to you. Eddie cannot miss any rally in Migori if Raila Amolo Odinga is attending. And if he wants to lie, let him tell, and please tell him. So that's a lie. No senator, when they are aligned to the particular leader that is visiting their county, will miss because of parliamentary duties. In any case, we miss committee meetings even without a good reason. So that's just a convenient reason and some convenient argument to try to run away from the fact that of course Sifuna does not support this particular arrangement. When Eddie again talks about Project Kenya, and then because most of us tribalists, when we talk, then you are left wondering, this Project Kenya that exempts some people, which Kenya is this? That if it's Project Kenya, it should be about everybody. And this also touches on what Honorable Ruto said when he said that Raila is coming to support Kenyans and not Ruto. I want to submit to you, Fred, that this arrangement has nothing to do with Kenyans. It's about the survival of President Ruto, and that is what it is. And if he's coming to support Kenyans, which Kenyans? Ruto is not Kenyans. Ruto is one person. Of course, with people who voted for him, but the people who voted for him, about 7.1 million people, only may be at most 2 million remain with him. So when you say Ruto, I mean, by signing an agreement with Ruto that you're coming to support Kenyans, then you are lying to Kenyans. Okay. And as I conclude, yes, I want to remind Senator Eddie that it is we in the Senate that do the division of revenue. We do not need, Raila does not need to sign any agreement with Ruto in order for us to give counties the 450 billion that is talking about. Finally, Fred, please, none of these leaders here will tell you why only Mount Kenya chairs have been removed. Okay. They will tell you about Project Kenya. And Project Kenya, according to them, and the narrative is isolate Mount Kenya. That is Project Kenya. We will not keep quiet. Thank you. As we are being maligned and sidelined and isolated. Thank you.
You go next.
The coming together of Raila Odinga and William Ruto has rocked the incompetent state officers from using their tribal cocoons to hide their incompetence in terms of delivering to Kenyans. Moving forward, those who are not able to carry out their mandate in government offices, we'll be seeing them dealt with properly. Remember, President William Ruto ensured every senior government official signed a performance agreement, you know. And moving forward, we'll start saying this performance agreement, how you are performed in your docket. If it is below expectation, then you'll be able to, you'll be sacked, you'll be fired, you'll be relieved of your duties. Because once that is done, you'll not be able to go around and say, I've been fired because I don't come from this and this other tribe. I don't support so and so. That kind of insulation for executive to be able to work is extremely necessary, because we have senior government officials who are not doing what is right, who are not competent enough, who don't care whether Kenyans get the services which are required, but when they are touched, they run to the likes of Nyoro and other guys who don't think about the Republic of Kenya, who only thinks about their small villages, and then they start shouting on the top of the mountains that we are being sidelined because of my tribe. And you forget it is because of their incompetence. But moving forward, coming together of these two great Kenyans, there will be no space. There will be nowhere to hide.
Okay, thank you. Finally, Bwana Edukech, Senator.
My friend Fred and my friend panelists, I repeat again and again that Project Kenya is possible. I want to talk to the people from the mountain, that there is one lie you're being told, that in Parliament today there's a purge against a community, and that every single committee members who have been removed from chairs of committees are being given to other tribes and not the Mount Kenya tribes. This is not true, at least from the Senate where I sit in. And I just don't have the time to explain, but I can give even two examples. From our own panelist who is here, who used to be the chair of education in the Senate. Today, the chair of education in the Senate is Betty Montet, who is a daughter of the mountain. And number two, there is a gentleman who used to chair the Energy Committee, and that is Senator of Nyeri. The Senator of Nyeri had actually been promoted more than what you would call a committee chair, because he was taken from a committee chair to become a commissioner in the Parliamentary Service Commission. So this is not true. Number two, it is also not true that all the people who came from Mount Kenya, all of them live in Mount Kenya. In fact, if there's a community who come from Mount Kenya who stay and live and are industriously doing enterprising businesses in different places, is the people of Mount Kenya. Today, from Migori County, where I come from, an entire ward of Isibania is with Kikuyu community. And you can count this across the country. What we are talking about here is that when a person comes from Mount Kenya and goes to Migori County or goes to Turkana, when they fall sick, they must get medication. When they want to drive, they should not drive in the dust. When they want to be a boda rider, they should not be a boda rider in the dust, because they are Kenyans, and anywhere where they are, they must get equal services. This is what the President and Honorable Raila Odinga are committed to. Lastly, the idea of budgeting in Parliament is an important one, whereby the physical space where we are spending from the National Executive does determine how budget process is made. It is true that there is an hand that Parliament can do, but it's also true that sometimes, because of what the executive struggles with, giving money to counties leads to mediation. We have gone to 2 mediation committees that have been in. The first time we asked counties to get 415 billion, they ended up getting 400 billion because we went to a mediation process. Okay. The second time we went and asked for 390, they ended up getting 387. Reason being, sometimes this physical space must be negotiated so that the executive cuts on its budget, and that is a derogatory of the Treasury to sometimes give us the predictions we can be able to give to the counties.
Thank you
so much. It is possible
Senator.
that Kenya can be one, and services can be distributed, and the country can be built equally to serve everybody. There is no Kikuyu, there is no Luo, there is no other tribes. We are all one Kenya.
Migori County, asante sana. David Kiplagat, MP Soi, Joe Nyoto, Senator Muranga, and Geoffrey Ruku, MP Mbeere North. Unfortunately, we do not have time, Senator. Next week we'll be here again. Less 30 seconds only, please.
Committee chair was made commissioner because Senator Kenyo of Laikipia County was removed from the commission. So Senator Matinga was not promoted. He took a seat that was already in Mount Kenya. His seat was taken to Bondo.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you, senators and members of the National Assembly, for your time here at TV47. Well, we also want to thank our viewers who've been keeping us company and watching us from the time we started at 6 a.m. We are still not done. After the break, we'll be having a conversation on gender-based violence and the effects of technology on the same. Do stand by for that. My name is Fred Ndimuli. Good morning.